Hi, everybody. My name is Brian Puente. I am one of the people who support Adobe Creative Cloud here at the University of Arizona. And today we are going to be walking you through editing video for social media with Premiere Rush. So really what this workshop is built to be and do is kind of talk about how Premiere Rush works. And we'll use social media as a measure of context, but we're going to be focusing pretty heavily on the software set here. So real quick, we're going to go ahead and we're going to really quickly go through and talk about what Premiere Rush is, why we would choose to use it for social media over other platforms. There's no one right answer for that, but we'll talk about it a little bit, and then we will get into basically working through creating something from start to finish inside of Premiere Rush. How do we import clips? What should we do when we think about organizing them? And then go through some tips and tricks and then show you how to share this out. Does that sound okay? Does it sound like what you signed up for? I hope so. So let's go ahead and get started here. So real quick in the chat, how many people have used Premiere Rush before? Yes or no? We'll just say, have you used Rush before? Yes or no? Make it easy. No. Perfect. You're in the right place. Perfect. Yeah. Awesome. Not yet. I like not yet. I like not yet a lot. Okay, follow-up question. Have any of us done any video editing before? Just started 30 minutes ago. Cool. Sweet. Yes. No. Okay. Minimal. I like the qualifiers. So if you've done, okay, final question for now. How many of you have trimmed a video on your phone before? Cool. So we have trimmed a video before. So that's kind of the barrier to entry for Rush. If you trimmed a video before, and it's okay if you haven't. So if you trimmed a video before, you can use Rush. Rush is a great platform because, in my opinion, it's pretty easy to pick up and work with. It's available on multiple platforms here. We're going to be going over the desktop version today because that's what's easiest for me to share with you. But aside from things being in a different location, the feature sets are pretty identical across them. It's available on desktop and mobile devices. It's most modern iOS devices and most of the flagship Android devices, they have a list of compatible devices at the bottom. And the cool thing about Rush is that if you start a project on one device, you can finish it on another one. Like I said, you have access to the whole entire suite of software that you can edit with across all the different platforms. So it's really nice. The other kind of beautiful part of it is that it's a really new software. So Adobe's constantly adding features to it. We'll go over some stuff in here that's been added pretty recently that I think changes what Rush is capable of doing and makes it a more viable option for more complex editing. So at the University of Arizona, which is where I'm from, we have Adobe Creative Cloud available to all of us here on campus. So we get access to it that way. Hopefully, a lot of you are in a similar situation. But basically, the idea is that Rush is a really powerful multi-platform tool that can help us video edit, in my opinion, pretty easily. So let's go ahead and talk about why we want to use Rush for social media. And to do that, I will do a shameless plug for our Instagram. If you're on Instagram, it's Adobe Arizona on Instagram. So chances are you guys have at least seen what social media websites look like. I don't like to assume. How many of you guys spend too much time on social media? I'll raise my hand. So all of this content is generated, and there's pictures and there's videos and there's all sorts of other things here. But there is a lot of, but basically we want to build for this platform. The reason we want to use Rush for social media is because we have the ability to have it on our mobile devices. So we can shoot, edit, and then publish all from one spot, which is great. But there's also a lot of things built into Rush that make, regardless of where you post from, that make it fast to generate content. So that's why we want to, that's typically why we want to use Rush, is because it's a fast way to generate this content in a hurry. Premiere Pro is awesome, and it's one of my favorite softwares in the Adobe suite. However, the barrier of entry for Rush is significantly lower and it's available in more places. So I really like Rush for generating any type of content that needs to be fast. So as far as getting started, when you're working with video, there are lots of things to consider. There's things like, what camera am I using? What lighting do I have? How do I even shoot this? What if I have no ideas what I want for a video? I'm happy to share with you that you should, if you absorb any sort of media at all, you already have kind of a visual, I'll use the word lexicon, I guess, of content that you can draw from. Like when you're looking to start making video content, think about what you see that you like. Think about videos that you've seen on YouTube, like they're on YouTube or Instagram, and like you can use those as reference and even try and copy a lot of that style. There's nothing wrong with looking at somebody else's idea that you like and then trying to implement that style of thing to make it your own. So you don't have to start from 100% scratch. If you like cooking videos, go watch some cooking videos and then figure out what you like about those, and then grab your camera, experiment a little bit, and see what you can do to make the content that's there. It's, like I said, it's about what catches your eye. And one thing that I'll say kind of overarchingly with all of this Creative Cloud stuff, I equate learning creative software to driving a car. And what I mean by that is, I don't know about you guys. How many of y'all drive? Hopefully a few of you. Yep. Yeah, in Arizona, we have to drive. Everything's super far. I guess we don't have to. It's a really nice luxury to drive. Like it might not be super fun to go from Tucson to Phoenix using public transit. So I drive too. When I started driving, I was terrible. Like, you wouldn't have wanted to be on the road next to me. I wish that they had those big those big magnets that said like, practice driver, please keep your distance, or like be nice or what have you, because I was not good at it. It took some time for me to get good. I didn't get into any accidents that were my fault. I'll say that much. but it took some time to kind of get good at this, and this is a skill that you have to develop. Doing it once is great, and like getting to the end product is awesome. But the way that we get good and the way that we get fast at doing this is by doing it multiple times. So as we kind of start talking about this, try and think about things that you might want to do with the content that we're going to talk about, and try and implement something today. Like, I think I can show you by the time that we're done here, but it's pretty easy to get up and running. Cool. So with that said, we'll go ahead and we'll get started working on bringing in some clips here. So hopefully you've seen Premiere Rush at least once before. If not, I will introduce you. So this is Premiere Rush. I have a bunch of different projects that are listed here, including a bunch of like workshop test projects and things like that. But this will be kind of the start screen here for Premiere Rush. When you are ready to start a project, there's a big blue button that says Start Project. There's a Learn tab that's going to take you to places. And, it's a pretty simple interface, which is great. I want to go ahead and we'll come back to this video here, but I want to go ahead and show you how to bring in and start stuff for new projects. I mentioned in the documentation for this workshop that I used pexels.com to find some free stock footage I'm going to use to import here. As you go to videos here, I think I looked up dogs. This is a great resource if you're looking for Creative Commons licensed video to use. I grabbed a few of these cute videos that we're going to import here. It's really easy to kind of click on these and then download them in whatever resolution that you want. So cute. But these are, if you go to Pexels, you can see at the bottom under info what these are licensed for. So this is free to use. So this is a resource that you can use for anything that you're doing at the university. If you have something with dogs, like back when campus was fully open during finals and things like that, they had dog petting Therapies available at different places around campus. They bring dogs and let people pet them. So I might want to use this for that. But there's all sorts of things you can look up here, and there are tons of resources that you can use to find additional videos and things like that. This is just one of them. That's why I mentioned it in there. This is where the footage I will be using for this demo part comes from. So I'm going to create a new project. When I hit create a new project, the application is going to show me all of my files in this little directory here. In my opinion, it's pretty important to organize your footage. So you see right here, I have this thing called dog files. It's on my desktop. If I go to just my regular Finder, we can see that I have images and videos kind of all here ready for me to use. I downloaded pasta for some reason. I must have been hungry. So what we're going to do here, I have this organized in a folder, and whenever you're doing any media projects, I really like having everything organized at least in a folder. If I was doing this in other ways, I would have folders and then subfolders and things like that. Like I might have a video folder and I might have other things if I was doing an extensive project, but just having everything in one spot saves so much time and so much headache when you need to find something quickly. So I highly recommend it. That's the end of the organization speech. But anyway, so when we're here and ready to import, we'll see that we can import things like images and video pretty easily here. So when I click on one, you'll see that the number 1 pops up here. So that means it's going to be the first video I import. And then click 1, 2, 3, 4, and import those videos, right? And I can change the order just by clicking off and clicking on them. Hopefully you're seeing that's pretty easy to do. But what's happening here is it's bringing in the full image. It's bringing in the full clip of that video. And especially if I shot video myself, like you're going to get like the wobbly parts of me like holding up the camera and trying to set it up as we hit record and things like that. So typically we'll want to edit or trim down the video before we bring it in. So to do that, it's really simple. Hover over the selection that you want, and you'll see this little icon here, this little brackets with a square around it. Click on that. That's going to bring up our video preview here. This will allow us to preview the video. So on Zoom, it might look a little choppy because Zoom does have a pretty low frame rate, but it looks great on mine. But as we come over here, this little blue line right here is showing us where we are in time. And that's called the playhead. You'll see playheads more later. So what we'll do is if you move your mouse to either side, you will see a little bracket. You can click and drag on that bracket to trim off the parts that you don't want in the video. So if you've never used a video editor before, video editors like Premiere Rush are non-destructive. So that means that all I'm doing is hiding this part of the video. I'm not deleting it. So if I needed to bring it back, I could. Does that make sense so far? Always like to check. Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and choose this as clip 1. We've already trimmed it. We'll bring this in as clip 2. It's dog playing at the beach. Cool. And I'll go ahead and trim this. I'll just trim this kind of arbitrarily to do it. So it gets to right before he starts kind of sitting down there. And I'm just clicking and holding and dragging to kind of pick where it goes. There we go. And on motion. There we go. All right. Sweet. And we'll go 2. And then we'll do this guy for 3. Let's try to find the right thing. Awesome. So I'm kind of scrubbing through. I'm clicking and holding. This is called scrubbing. Just move the playhead here. I can just press the space bar to play through or hit the play pause button. Might be a chunky file, so I'm going to take a second. Oh, there we go. Perfect. I love that. So I see my playhead here. I can just kind of trim to the playhead. And cool, I'm good to go. And again, I'm not worried about being perfect here because I can always come back and re-edit this later and extend it as long as there's footage to do it. So these are my 3 pieces of footage here. On the bottom left-hand side, you'll find something really important. The name of your project. You'll want to title your project because I don't know about you guys, but untitled doesn't mean a whole lot to me. And especially if I come back to it a year later. So I want to go ahead and call this something that's easy to see. So I'm going to go ahead and go with dog. And then I have my 3 pieces of footage here. Change my settings. I'm going to hit create. Cool. So what that's going to do is it's going to create my timeline here. And then I have my timeline with my 3 clips of the dogs here. So once I'm here, Now we're in the Premiere Rush interface. Sorry, this guy's down here. But with this interface, we have a few buttons that I want to identify. And on that Spark page is a huge legend of what every single button does. I'm going to go ahead and break it into quadrants and just kind of show you a few areas that we're going to be looking at today. Cool. So, what did I do? There we go. On the top left-hand side, we will find this little menu bar up here. We have home, we have edit, and we have share. This is going to switch between the three different, I'll call them modes that Rush has. Edit is where we're going to be living for the bulk of this workshop because we're going to be looking at editing some footage. But that's home will take us back to the home screen where we'll see all of our existing projects. Now you may notice that here's our project. We come back into it. I have access to it and I can work with it. Rush doesn't have a save button. Rush will save as you go. Pardon me one second, I'll grab a drink of water. As you're working, as long as you have an internet connection, it will save it and then share it with the cloud if you want it to. So it's available across your different devices, but Rush saves as you work. There's no distinct save button here for you. All right, so we have, like I said, we have home, edit, and share. And then on this right-hand side, we have all of our different effects, colors, options, graphics. You'll also see little pop-outs come out to show you what they do and how they do it. We'll dig into a few of these more later, but I wanted to introduce them to you now so you know where to look. And then let's go ahead and we're going to go to the exact opposite side, this bottom right-hand side over here. On this bottom right-hand side, we have things like duplicate a clip, delete a clip, expand audio, which we'll get into in a little bit, and then control tracks. I really like having control tracks turned on because right now, this is a really minimal interface, which looks really nice. But if I click on this button, then I'll see options for things that I have, like muting or locking a track or hiding and showing a track, which will be helpful as I show you projects that have, as I show you how we can kind of use different layers to get more out of this project. Cool. So down here at the bottom is our sequence or our timeline. It shows us all of our different clips. I mentioned this earlier, but this little blue line is called the playhead. And then if I press spacebar to play, it will play through. Then you may notice that this number is changing. So this is showing us where we are in the duration here. So I'll mention this once. You don't need to remember it, but just so that you kind of see here. If you pay attention to these numbers, the number next to the 9 here, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, then it resets to 0, right? So this is minutes, seconds, and frames. This video is 24 frames a second. So once we hit 24 frames, so if we divide a second into 24ths, a frame occupies each one. Then when we get to the end, it resets to 0 to go to the new second. The reason why I mentioned that is just because if you do a lot of video editing, that will be handy knowledge to know. But if you don't, or if it's not important to you, no worries. If duration isn't like hyper important, that's totally fine. I just wanted to explain why those were changing from numbers that weren't kind of standard measures of time. Cool. All right. So now we have play, pause, previous edit point, next edit point. You'll see keyboard shortcuts for that. So these are super helpful. If you look at your keyboard and find your arrow keys, the left key will take you back one frame at a time. The up key will take you back to the previous edit, and the down key will take you to the next one. So as you're working here, you can use those keyboard shortcuts to move around your timeline, see the different edits. Every point where you see kind of like this little break right here where one clip starts and another clip ends, that's called an edit. And then spacebar will play. You can go full screen by hitting this button. You can loop this, which can be nice. So if I hit loop and I play through while we're talking here, you'll see that once the playhead hits the end, it will kind of loop back around. For social media, this is really helpful. If you have something on Instagram that's really short, it's gonna loop. Looking at what the loop's gonna look like a couple times can be really beneficial to you as you're working. Cool. So let's go ahead and so far so good. I'm gonna check in with everybody. This is all pretty straightforward, not too bad. All right. Hopefully you find that all of Rush is pretty straightforward and not too bad. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go ahead and start trimming these clips down. They're a little long. I think that this whole entire thing is 16 seconds. So what we're gonna do Oh, by the way, one other thing to kind of note here is that this little bar at the bottom will allow you to kind of scroll through. But if you grab one of the ends here, you can adjust your view here. So I have a pretty decent sized screen, so I'll just make sure that the whole entire clip runs end to end. But if you're zoomed in really tight like this and you can't see everything, check this little bar right here, then you can zoom out and see what you're working with. Cool. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and trim this. So this is, and I'm clicking and holding as I'm clicking and dragging through here, just kind of move it through faster. And this is a lot of the same stuff. I think I have 6 seconds of this. I think it's a little long. I want to go ahead and go with 3 seconds here. So I'm going to go move my playhead to 3 seconds or so. It doesn't need to be exact. It happens to be for this. So I'm going to do, as I have a few different ways to trim this. I can absolutely click and drag here. And then just lower this duration here. When I click and drag, it will snap to wherever the playhead is. When you see these little like white arrows at the top and the bottom, and I'll show you that again, look at the top and the bottom of the playhead, there's little white arrows that show up. That means that it's snapped to that playhead exactly. I let go, the trim is done. So just like a word processor, you can undo with Command Z or Control Z on Windows. I'm on a Mac for this. But the other thing I can do is I do have the option to do what's called splitting a clip, and that can be really helpful too. Helpful for if you want to put an effect on a specific part of a clip, or you don't, or you want to break a huge clip into individual pieces and move those around. Splitting clips can be great. So all you have to do to split a clip is press play. You don't even have to press play. So if I hold this down here, move this to there, press the S key, you'll see it splits the clip and creates a new edit. Visually, you'll see no difference, but the benefit of this is that I can take this clip right here, once it's highlighted, and I'm clicking to highlight it. You can tell it's highlighted because of the orange little box there, and press delete, and it removes that clip. So lots of different ways to trim. It depends on what you're doing. If you want to remove something here, splitting a clip can be really helpful. You don't have to click it anywhere. Your playhead just needs to be where you want it. Then you press the S key to split. And you'll notice when I press up and down, just jump between my edits, maybe, you'll see that now, even though the clip plays through, like there's no difference between it, because we split the clip, now we have different edit points. Does that make sense? Cool. All right, let me go ahead and get rid of a few of these things. This is kind of the same stuff, so I can get rid of that. Come over here. Gosh, they're so cute. And then finally, because this is kind of the same motion twice, it looks like. Yeah. Well, that's cute. Maybe I don't need that whole entire thing. Cool. All right. I'm going to press delete to get rid of that. So now I've taken my 16-second video, I made it 6, which is great. But I think I need one more piece of footage here. So to go grab a new piece of footage, and we haven't added any audio or things like that yet. I just want to kind of go through the video import process one more time. So once we're in this clip and we want to add footage, I'm going to go ahead and move my playhead where I want to drop the footage. I'm going to go move it to the end here. And then if I want to add any piece of media, I'm going to hit the plus button. Hit plus, then we're going to go to, we can add audio, graphics, voiceover, all that stuff. We're going to go ahead and just go with your media. That's going to take me to the last folder I was in. If you want to go to the previous folder, just click the back arrow here. It will take you back to your desktop or wherever you're at, and then you can navigate for it. So I'm going to go ahead and come down here. I have this picture of this guy in this little alleyway. Just like previously, I'm going to go ahead and trim this before I put me in there. Actually, I won't. So let me go ahead and I'll just hit 1. And then hit add, and then it will import that video here. You take a second, and then we have this cute dog kind of close the shot out. Sweet. So nice, but it's a pretty long clip, so I want to go ahead and trim it. So to do so, I'm going to go ahead and move my playhead where I want, and then I'm just going to use this. I'm going to use splitting again. I press S to split. Grab the end, press delete. And then there is my footage here. Cool. So, and now we're all set with that footage. I think I have the footage that I want. Cool. All right. And it's important to review your footage kind of as you're working every once in a while, just to make sure you have what you need. Cool. This works for me. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start building onto this. So I have these dogs here. But I want to go ahead and add some music to this to kind of help bring these clips together. So Rush has a bunch of music available for you to use, which is awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Add Media. Then I'm going to go to Audio. When I go to Audio here, I can browse Rush's audio library and then look for things. They have loops that we can use. They have soundtracks we can use. They even have sound effects. So I encourage you to explore those. I'm going to go ahead and go with loops. See if I can find something kind of quiet. Let's go ahead and preview this. To preview, just hit play. Maybe not quite that for me. Let's see if I can find something kind of. Cool. Let's say I wanted that. Really easy to do. So it's 21 seconds. I have 10 seconds of footage. So it should be easy to just hit add here. It will add that audio. To our footage here. There we go. Cool. And then when I'm done with this window here, I'll move this down to the beginning and just play through it to make sure I hear something. Let's see if we can pause it there. So when you first, okay. Might be getting too overzealous with the button pushes. What was what I was about to say. But when you first bring in footage, you see this little blue guy up here? This little guy right here, I'm just letting you know that Rush is either processing or saving, I believe. I know the processing part, but we need to kind of let it buffer to kind of play everything back in real time, but we can still work as we're doing it. So this footage is this audio is a bit too long. I'm going to move to the end here. I'm going to I'll trim it this time. So I'm going to go ahead and go down to the end. And the reason why we have like these multiple ways to do this is because there's not a right or a wrong way to do this part of it. These are just kind of two different methods here. A lot of people like grabbing the end and trimming it out. Most of the time I will split a clip and then delete, but it just depends on what your needs are. But here is our footage so far. Cool. So now it's a little bit more alive, I think. So let's go ahead and play through and we'll check it out. Cool. Cool. All right, awesome. So now we have some footage and we have some audio. Now we're going to go ahead and add a few titles to kind of bring this together. We're going to make these titles up on the fly, but there are lots of really great titles available inside of Premiere Rush to help you make your content more dynamic, because this has music on it, but if you've been on social media before, a lot of people watch these videos silent. So having things like having a few kind of captions to help you out there can be really beneficial. So, and I don't have any other on this yet, so I might not add it. So I'm going to go to Add Media here, and then we're going to go to Graphics. Once we go to Graphics here, then open up our graphics panel here, and this is something that's gotten a pretty nice overhaul from Adobe recently. So there are a lot more options here. There are things like overlays and all sorts of things, but we're going to go ahead and go with titles for now. I highly encourage you to explore this. Transition graphics can be really nice. I'll show you an example where we use transition graphics during like a Q&A style video that I think use those well. But for here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick a title that we want to work with. All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see, what do I want here? You can tell I didn't do anything before. So we're going to go ahead and You can click on a title here. And titles work just like any other piece of footage. So we can bring them in, we can add them. Let's go ahead and go with, This can be a huge part of your process, is taking the time to kind of pick the things you want. But hopefully you can see there's all sorts of different titles that you can use. And a lot of these kind of work together. So let's say that I wanted to use modern here. Let's see what happens when I type in the word modern. So it shows me a bunch of different titles here and a few other modern ones. But the main reason I wanted to do that is you'll see that some of these are like in the middle, and then we have things like lower thirds here as well. So a lower third is exactly what it says. It's in the bottom third of the video here, and is often used for things like first names and last names, or ways to identify the content that are there. Like let's say you're doing like an art walk or something like that, and you're with a camera and you're walking by a piece of artwork. You can use the lower thirds because it's down at the bottom, typically not where the focal point is, to identify what the thing was and where it is, or the person's name in their title, or however you want to work it. I'm going to go ahead and go with something a bit more centered for this. I'm going to go ahead and choose this modern title here. I'm going to click and drag to apply. Boom, boom. Cool. So now we'll let that motion graphics template load. When you're done with this window, by the way, you can absolutely hit this X button to collapse it down. Highly recommend. Makes it easier for you to work with. Let's play through and we'll take a look at this modern title here. Cool. It says modern title. So, and it's also kind of long too. It kind of bleeds into this next clip, which is not what I want. So, but you'll see it transitions in and transitions out automatically. So there are beautiful transitions that are put in there at the start and the finish to help you. Kind of make the video editing easier. You don't have to go hunting for like adjusting the end other than trimming the clip. But check this out. When I trim this clip down, I'll still have this same kind of like fade in and fade out. But like I said, when you adjust the end, it goes away on its own, which is awesome. I'm gonna make this a little longer here. Now let's go ahead and start editing it. And editing your titles pretty simple. You go to where it says modern title here, make sure that you have it selected. You'll know it's selected because of that orange bounding box. And double click on the text. There we go. And then we can just start typing what we want. There we go. Ooh, okay. So it can take a moment. I'm pushing this through Zoom, so Zoom will make it slower. If we go to our title panel over here too, we can see a bunch of different options for how we can edit it. Give that a second to load up. Any questions while we're waiting for this to load real quick? So far, so good. Okay. Let's see where we're at. There we go. Love it. All right. So let's go ahead and we'll find our plate right here. And we'll type in our brackets. Not only can you see what you're typing here, but you also see the title changes as well. So we're going to go with car rides. And then I want to go ahead and use the same title for all of the rest of these. It can be kind of jarring to switch your title style. Oh, did I accidentally delete that? Let's undo. It can be kind of jarring to change your title style as you're working through a video. So when you find a title style you like for a video, I like using one or two. Give it a second to pause, I hope. There we go. Like I said, Zoom's making it around a little slow. That's okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate this title here. Really easy to duplicate. I'm going to go ahead and hit duplicate. It makes a copy. You can have up to 4 layers high of titles. What if your imported clips have sound? That's a great question. So if your imported clips have sound, you'll see, if we go to expand audio here, we'll see this little waveform right here. This happens to be silent. I'll in a moment when we switch to another project, I'll show you what that looks like and how we can edit those sounds. But yeah, you can mute tracks with this little button right here on the track. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab this, move this over. Again, we're just kind of building this out together real quick. Car rides, and then we'll move our playhead over here. And they both say car rides, but I can double click on this. Make changes to it. Just kind of this up on the fly here. So it's things like car rides, beach bud, companion, and then the last thing I'll say adopt. It's kind of the idea. So I want to make that all caps. I'm going to fix that real quick since everything else is caps. Cool. By the way, I'm not adjusting any of the fonts or shapes and things like that, but you can absolutely go in here and adjust fonts. You have access to all of your fonts, including the ones from Adobe Fonts. They have available to you. So you can adjust this however you want, which is super great. You can change your font styles. You can switch your font colors. So you have a ton of flexibility here. And if there are individual items, you can also change those as well. So you'll see in the graphics panel, which is this guy over here, when you have text selected, you'll see not only the font here that you're working with, but also any other elements here. So if I wanted to change the color of this little blue purple line that showed up here to maybe make it more on brand with something that I have the hex code, I can dial it in there. If I want to kind of pick a blue, I can just use sliders to do that as well. Lots of kind of ways to work here. You can also dial in your RGB or HSB or HSL levels there as well. So I'm going to go and hit that, hit OK. Now that's blue. And then we can kind of rinse and repeat. Hopefully you get the idea with titles. But I'm going to go ahead and, oops. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate one more time. Move this over. And then go with, once it joins us over here, there we go. I should really like this one for what we're going to talk about. All right. You go ahead and adjust the text here. Once it catches up, thanks for your patience there. All right. Well, we'll work with it. So one cool thing that Rush offers us is that any video object that you have here, photos, videos, images, they are all movable on this frame here. So you'll see right here when I'm looking at this section right here. If I decide to play through. Let's see. There we go. So you'll see that kind of goes right over his eyes, which is not where we want it. The cool thing about Rush that a lot of other video editors don't do is that I can select this footage, this clip right here, and then I can, let's see, let's go under, yeah, so we can click and drag to move it. So believe it or not, like that's a feature that's not in a ton of other video editors, or at least not the last time I checked. Things change, but we can kind of position this right where we need it to be. And I think for this little fella right here, this is a much better position than where it was before. Cool. So I know the computer chugs a little bit on that footage there, so we're just going to scrub through. Cool. Make sense so far? Awesome. All right. So now, real quick, and then we'll move on to a video that has some more audio, and then we can kind of break that down. But basically, we kind of have this idea here. And again, we can move this down. Or although I like it where it is, we can kind of adjust it. So we have, I'm going to change this text. Let's do real quick. It's going to bother me. We'll give that a second to kind of show up. The other thing that we can do is we can apply transitions to any piece of footage to help it blend in with the rest of our footage that we're working with here. So if we go to our transitions menu, which is the second one here under effects, Command 2 or Control 2 on Windows, we have a bunch of different effects that we can apply. So we can do what's called a dissolve. So if I just select my footage and then I can either click on dissolve, and you'll see that dissolve will kind of fade in. And then you see how that kind of transition, it fades one in as the other one fades out. That's great for allowing people to kind of quickly, allowing you to kind of quickly change your scenery in a way that makes sense. You don't have to use transitions for things, but this is just kind of a nice soft transition. Make it kind of look nice and easy to view there, as opposed to, I'll go ahead and undo that. If I don't have a transition, these look fine together, to be honest. But if I wanted that kind of like dreamy kind of like fade one in as the other one fades out, dissolves are great for that. And I can click and drag a dissolve to a specific edit point, or I can select a clip and then press dissolve here to apply it to either side. There are tons of other ones here. We used to just have dissolve black and white. So we have a whole lot more options nowadays. So if we wanted something that was a little bit more wild, we could do like a push left, push right. So what that does, exactly what it says, pushes it out of the way. And that's a bit more, it's a bit more kinetic and maybe a little bit more social media friendly because it's fast. But transitions are an option here. You have a lot of them and lots of different ways to kind of work with stuff. So hopefully that makes sense. Any questions so far? Those are the basics of kind of how you'll be editing. I missed how to change the text. Yeah, so it hasn't been working great for me today, but all you have to do is select the text here. Let's see if I can change this one. I really want to change this one. There we go. It's cool. So I just select it. I select the clip and then I click on the text here. I'm in the right spot when I see this little this text icon to change it. I'm gonna be able to do it. Awesome. And then you just change the text and then just click away from it and you're done. If you wanted to change the font, select it again and then go back to your graphics panel, and then you can choose your font from right here. Hopefully that helps. Awesome. All right. So this looks fine. We're getting close to being done here. I'm going to go ahead and apply a couple of transitions. I think I like the dissolves for this one because it's like nice and soft. So I'm just clicking on every clip, I'm just hitting dissolve, just to make sure I have dissolves in the beginning and the end. So they'll kind of feel the same as we kind of transition from place to place. Now, I have this looking good, but I wanted to make this for Instagram stories. And it's a portrait right now. I mean, it's a landscape right now. I need it to be a portrait. So the good news is it's really easy to overcome. So nothing to be worried about. We can change it on the fly too. So if you come over here to change sequence aspect ratio, I can click on this, and then it's 16:9 right now, which is the native ratio for the footage. I can go to 9:16 here though. And then you'll see that it adjusts this for you. It also adjusts my titles, which is cool. So I may need to go through and do some resizing and things like that, but Rush does a pretty good job of getting kind of what you need where you need it for this. So let's take a look here. Perfect. All right, so we'll see that he's kind of cut off here. So let's take a look and see what we can do to work with this. So we have a video that's 16:9, but it's 9:16. I haven't done it with this footage before, but we're gonna go ahead and try to do what's called auto reframing. The tooltip pops up for us. Let's see, looked like it was trying to. So, oh, there it comes. All right. So what auto reframe does is it tries to look at the footage and then center it for you. So you'll see right here, this dog is more towards the middle now. I'm going to go ahead and undo that to show you where it was. So over here was all the way on the right? So it used to be that I'd have to, if I wanted to do this, I'd have to move this thing myself. And then if it was moving around, I might have to lose it and it was static. Now we have this auto reframe option, which basically motion tracks the footage for us. And now the dog's right where he needs to be. So it kind of reframes it for us, which is awesome. So let's go ahead and try it with this one. This one will be interesting. So we'll auto reframe here. It'll analyze the footage and puts that dog kind of right in the center where we need to be. So this awesome this awesome tool here basically tries to help us have the best possible frame when we change aspect ratios here. Because so now the beautiful thing is it doesn't matter necessarily. Oh, did you see how that happened? It followed the movement there. Check that out. Follow the dog along with it, which is super cool. So it doesn't, while it's always nice to shoot in the format that you want, if you don't have that luxury, or if you're working in different formats, this auto reframe can be really helpful to help you get a good shot regardless of what format that you're in. And in my opinion, like, this is one of the more powerful pieces that Rush offers us. And then we can kind of make some adjustments here to our title, move it down, maybe, there we go. We can kind of make that make more sense for wherever it is. There we go. Kind of split the difference there. Ooh, okay, cool. Sweet. Nice. Cool. And you'll see there's a lovely fade out at the end. Cool. So the auto reframe is a super cool feature. One other thing, let's say that you had, let's say that, not that digital learning does a lot of dog adoptions, that's the department I'm out of, but let's say that we wanted a logo on this as well. We can import our logos pretty easily. Just go to your media, then locate where your file is. If you want it to sit on top of this stuff, what you'll want is a PNG that has transparency. That's typically the easiest. There are other transparent formats, but we're going to go ahead and pick one. Let's go ahead and go with, what about Creative Campus? Creative Campus wants you to adopt animals. Well, yeah, I think it's a valuable cause. All right, cool. So we're going to go here and add that. Sweet. And then put this Creative Campus logo at the end here. I will want to resize this. So what I will do is I'll go to this transform menu, and then I'll adjust the scale here. If I adjust the scale, it makes it really small. Make it really small, really big, just by sliding this. You can also grab a corner here, but that logo was really big, so it would have been tough. So I'm going to go ahead and move this over on top here. Now, put this down here at the bottom left. Again, just kind of show what we're doing here. Move that there, and we will, I can choose kind of what I want and how, ooh, it's rotating. I don't know if that's what I was going for. So we will undo real quick, and then we will scale again. And then we can adjust the horizontal and vertical position here as well. So I might do that. Smooth it over to the left a little bit and a little more. Cool. Awesome. So there we go. You'll see that this logo is transparent. So we can see everything that's behind it except for the logo. Awesome. So now that we have, now let's say that we feel good about the video and we're ready to share it out. All we'll need to do is go to the share menu, which we'll get to in just a little bit. For now, we're going to go ahead and switch gears. And so none of this had dialogue on it. We didn't record any audio with voice. So let's go ahead and move over to a project that I have where there is some voice and talk about all the different ways we can manipulate the dialogue that's there. So I'm good. Before we leave this though, how do we feel about the basics of moving around this and creating an edit, changing the aspect ratios and navigating the interface? Were there any questions?
Ryan, can you review how to edit the text in the?
Of course.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. So to edit text, I'm going to go and go to a piece of footage that's maybe not as heavy, so it's a little nicer to us. Cool. So if I wanted to edit this text here, if I want to edit the text itself, I just, oops, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I have the text selected in my timeline here. Then I'm going to click on the text. If I want to edit the words that are there, I simply click, then I have a cursor, or I can change whatever it is that I want it to be. And if I want to change the font that's there, I'll select the clip here, and then go to my graphics panel, and then I can change the font by making sure I highlight the text that I want to change, and then adjusting the font or colors or what have you.
Okay, 2 more questions. Oh, sorry. Somebody wants to see the aspect ratio button and the loop button as well.
Sure. All right, cool. All right. So to switch the sequence aspect ratio, it's on the far right. And then we just change it. We just hit a button to switch it up. I change it from 19 by 6 to 16 by 9. There's 4 by 5 and 1 by 1. And then you'll see that whenever you change that, it needs to reinterpret the footage there. So Rush will try and help you by adjusting your titles and the sizes so that they make sense for the aspect ratio they're in. There may be a little bit of work you have to do, but it's a lot better than having to reformat everything every time. So hopefully that makes sense there. I just hit the full screen button. The playback hasn't been the best for me today, but if we want to loop this, all we need to do is make sure that this loop button is selected. And now it is. So if I hit play here, you'll see that creative canvas got really big because we changed those aspect ratios there. So I'm going to go back to number 16, come over here, and we'll go to our rotate, resize that. So get it in the ballpark, cool. And then we'll play through a loop now. Thanks for your patience on that. Cool. So the loop will just kind of go through and play it. And then once we get to the end, it'll run it again. Also, another great reason to have the same transition at the beginning and the end, if you're fading to black at the beginning and you fade to black at the end, then it's a seamless start over. You could dip to white as well. You could even do like a white or what have you, but making sure that the beginning and the end are the same can be great for the loop. Although, like with social media, so many things don't have transitions. It's really kind of up to you. But if you were going with the transition, it's a great way to do it. Great questions. Any other questions before we move on to dealing more specifically with audio? Awesome. Okay, if they show up, let me know. This audio thing should take maybe 10 minutes, and then we'll open it up for Q&A to kind of end the session. Sound good? Oh, I actually had share too. That might be helpful. All right, so we'll do that as well. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and go to a different thing I did here. I did a Q&A video for a different project at some point. And we have somebody answering some questions here, and maybe you can see a different way that we use titles. So this is a pretty common way to use them. Go ahead and play through a little bit of this.
I'm studying computer programming and analytics, so basically computer science. And I got interested in it a couple years ago, I think. I went to this hackathon, and it's a pretty cool place where people get together and they make programs really fast. It seemed pretty cool, and I thought I'd like to be a part of that, so I started learning to program. I haven't been to hackathon yet, but I'm looking to get there someday.
So the video kind of goes on like that, which is nice. I already see something I don't like. That's right here. So I have a few kind of pieces of footage where he's talking, and then this footage shows up on top of that. This footage is called B-roll. A-roll would be like where the audio and the dialogue are, and we can expand the audio to kind of see what that looks like. Somebody was asking what that looks like here. You'll see waveforms for all of that. But we'll put B-roll on top of that just to make it more interesting. And I chose like a wipe or something like that there. You could go with nothing at all. But when he answers this next question, it's a little bit more interesting when he's talking.
I'd probably say it's C++. C++ is extremely powerful and
Cool.
versatile.
So that's just taking one piece of footage and putting it on top of the other one. This doesn't have audio attached to it, but if it did, I think, does this one have it? I'm not sure. So this one does. So what we would do with that if we didn't want that audio playing is we go to our audio panel, which is a great way to introduce the audio panel. And then make sure that we have this mute turned on here. So we can mute either per clip or across the entire part of the sequence with this button right here. A whole lot of times I like to do per clip just because I'm isolating that one piece because that's the one thing that I want muted, but it will depend on what you want. This audio panel is super powerful. It can do a whole lot for us here. So this is a pretty common type of video, like a Q&A. We kind of put some footage over the top of it to make it work. Sometimes you might bring in video that's a little smaller than other things. You really do want to try and get the best resolution video that you can, but if you need to adjust the size of this for whatever reason, you could go to that trim tool that we talked about, or you can just select it, grab a corner, and then zoom it out here so that it fits the frame. So now this transition, this like B-roll looks a little bit better. Cool. All right, so now let's talk a bit about audio here. His audio is pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and it looks like we already did some work to it, so we'll go ahead and take some of that work off. But when you record audio, just a little, in general, there are lots of things that we can do to fix audio. But in my opinion, I'll call it mine, the best thing that you can do is have good audio to begin with. I don't think that means going and buying the most expensive microphone that there is, although nice mics are really nice. Well, I think what it's about is trying to have the quietest space, or like the most, it depends on the thing that you're doing, but basically for most times when you're recording somebody talking, you'd love for them to be as quiet as possible. So walk into their room, listen to it. You have a box fan, turn it off, listen for ceiling fans. If you hear a hum, if you hear a hum outside, then you'll probably hear that hum when you record the video. Basically, try to record next to outdoors, next to air conditioners, busy streets, freeway underpasses, that type of stuff. Listen to your surroundings. I don't think that having something super sterile is necessary all the time. Like if you're outside and you hear birds chirping, that might not be a terrible thing to have. But basically the short version is that there's a lot you can do before it ever touches the software to help you get better audio. But if you get into the software and you have some things to fix, Rush has a lot of great tools to make that easy, because sometimes you can't control everything, but as much as you can kind of get decent audio before you start, the better your project's going to be. Basically, it's really hard to go from bad to good. It's way easier to go from good to great, if that makes sense. So if we have quality stuff from the beginning, it's way easier to sweeten that and make it stellar. Cool. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some audio adjusting here. You may have noticed already, but Rush automatically assigns rules to footage when you bring it in based off of the audio that's there. So Rush knows that this person is talking. It's mainly a dialogue piece of footage. So it's labeled this as a voice. We can change that type. There are 3 types: voice, music, and other. Voice makes sense for this. So it's going to auto volume for us, which means it's going to adjust the volume based off of the other audio that's here for you. And I'll show you how that affects music here in a minute. But that's really great. You don't have to go through and try to balance the and try and kind of like level the audio yourself, although you can adjust that yourself if you want to. You don't have to for this. It tries really hard to make it easy. Let's take a listen to what he's got here.
Fast. It seemed pretty cool, and I thought I'd like to.
I'm going to go ahead and mute this so you can listen to it. Mute the...
Together and make programs really fast. It seemed pretty cool, and I thought I'd like to be a part of that. So started learning program.
Cool. So there's a little bit of noise in this room. Again, it was pretty decently recorded, but we can go ahead and do reduce background noise. And then once we do that, that will kind of remove some of the background noise in the footage that's here. We can also adjust the intensity of this. Whenever you mess with these things, I call them salt and pepper propositions. I think that you should use only as much as you need. Salt and pepper is used to season food. You don't typically want to eat salt and pepper. So if we crank this really hard, So let's throw it up to 100 and we'll see what happens.
Cool, and I thought I'd like to be a part of that. So start learning.
We start to get a little bit of artifacting in his voice. And if we were having to remove a lot of background noise, that artifacting would be even more prominent. So artifacting means like you hear like little spikes in audio that don't sound right, maybe sound like they're in a tin can, that type of stuff. But you can adjust the intensity of this here kind of as needed, which is super great. We can also balance the audio here. So he talks pretty consistently, but if you had someone who was talking really, really loud and then talking really quiet, balancing that audio will make it so that those quiet sounds sound a little louder and those really loud sounds sound closer to normal, so that there's more of a constant volume. If you think about most movies and TV that you see, the sound of a yell from an amplitude standpoint is about the same as the sound of a whisper. Like in most movies, like you can hear kind of like the intensity, but that whisper is just as audible in a good mix as a yell would be. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, you have a lot of different options here to look through. There is enhanced speech if you wanted to enhance speech a little bit. I tend to, again, only use what I need here, but you can adjust volume and things like that off from this space. Let's move on to music, because music is where things I think get pretty cool. So when we bring in a music track, and this is one of I believe this is one of the ones that Adobe offers. What we can do here is auto volume is turned on for us. So I'm not going to play this for you because it will hurt your ears if I do. But take a look at this waveform right here with auto volume turned on. If I turn it off, you'll see that waveform gets way higher. That means that this gets way louder here. So when you bring in footage, or when you bring in music, this Rush is going to look at the volume of your overall footage and try and find a volume that makes sense for this audio here without you having to do anything. Automatically there for you. Now we're going to move on to my favorite piece of audio from Premiere Rush, and that's Auto Duck. So when I turn on Auto Duck here, pay attention to what happens to this waveform. So check it out. All right, awesome. You see all these peaks and valleys here? So what auto ducking is doing is it's listening for dialogue, and then it's dropping the volume automatically as we go through. I love this feature. The other thing I love about this feature is it is dynamic, and what that means is that if I move footage around, it will automatically look at the footage and then reinterpret this ducking here. So I'll play it with you. I'll play this for you with the ducking on and with it off. So I'm just going to A/B it here. Here is it on.
And it's a pretty cool place where people get together and they make programs really fast. It seemed pretty cool, and I thought I'd like to be a part of that. So start learning program.
So I'm toggling it. Basically, let's get it over here. So I'll duck it again.
Say it's C++.
You'll see it really gets that music out of the way without losing it, which is awesome. Whereas
you can do pretty much.
While this sounds good with that kind of pretty high and present, I really like this auto ducking just to kind of get it out of the way a little bit more. If the auto ducking is doing too much or not enough, you can reduce this just by moving the slider, and then you'll see that it gets quieter and quieter here. So we'll go ahead and I'll just kind of reduce it as we go here. So you hear it's almost non-existent right now. So I want a little bit of that back.
C++ is extremely powerful and versatile. You can do pretty much anything in it. And cool. It's also fairly complicated, which I enjoy how time-consuming it is.
Cool.
It's kind of fun.
So the auto ducking happens dynamically, and for me, that's so cool. Just because this would be a much more tedious process if I had to go through it and pick points and change things and move them around. But this is a great way to kind of stretch your footage and make it more applicable in more places, and really kind of use the music that you want to use, and really make sure that whenever you have dialogue, that the people that you're having on screen you're able to hear easily. Cool. Does that make sense? It's one of my favorite things about Rush, hands down. So any questions on this before we really quickly, I'll show you how to record some voiceover, and then we will talk about share. Cool. All right, if they pop up, let me know. So we're going to go ahead and record some voiceover here. Not so far. Let's go ahead and we will record some voiceover here. You're going to go to home. We're going to go back to dog rescue. Then we're just going to record the words adopt today. Try that out. Okay. So to get to our voiceover here, we want to make sure that we have control tracks turned on. And then we want to go ahead and select the microphone here. We're going to target a track for recording. Once we do that, this red button means that the track is armed and live. If you have multiple microphones and you want to select the microphone you want to work with, in the Premiere Rush menu, we'll go to Preferences, and then choose your microphone here. I have an interface set up over here with a microphone on it. This is the microphone. We're going to record to you real quick, but you can record to whatever interface, whatever you wanted to hear. In a quiet room with the fan not spinning, MacBook microphones are great. The little, the one on the cable is totally fine. Lots of different ways to work. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK here. Then I'm going to arm this and move my playhead where I want. And then I will hit record. Count me in. Adopt today. Cool. And then
adopt today. Adopt today.
Nice. So now I could go over here and then do that whole ducking thing that I did. I want to trim this down a little bit. I want to make this a little bit more prominent here. So you can go ahead and auto volume this or reduce echo. I'll turn this up a little bit maybe. And then let's do voice. Nothing over here. Then I will auto duck. So let's listen.
Adopt today.
Cool. So really easy to do. And then it's there for you when you're done. If you wanted to record another pass of it, you simply hit the record or tap record button and record again. I turn on auto ducking for this right here. I can go ahead and reduce some background noise. So I see there's a little bit of it. But really easy to do. Not too bad. I'm available across all your different devices. Cool. We spent a bunch of time on editing. Any questions before we move on to sharing? Here. Sweet. All right. So last but not least, we have our sequence here, and it's ready to go. Let's go ahead and talk about how to share it. So you can share directly to platforms, which is awesome. If you choose to, you can sign into your different platforms, put in all of the metadata and all of the supporting information, including the video descriptions and all that type of stuff here. Same for Facebook, Instagram, and Behance, which is Adobe's portfolio platform. It's a really cool service. Highly encourage you to check that one out in particular. It's a great way to kind of get inspired and then share your work with other designers and creators. The one thing on desktop is that for Instagram, it will give you a video that you can then upload to Instagram wherever you want. There is no way to log into Instagram on desktop at this time. But the reason why these options are available is to make it really easy for you to publish to multiple platforms at the same time. I'm not going to do that here, but it also exports out these videos in the proper file format for the platform so that you have less time encoding and you can get your content distributed faster, which is awesome. I'm going to go ahead and name this sequence something that makes sense for us. I'm going to go and call this adopt. And then under save to, you will want to check this out and then pick where you want it to save so it's easy to find. I have lost many things by not putting them in the right spot when I go to save stuff. So feel free to kind of just navigate to your computer here. You'll hit choose. And then under advanced settings here, you don't really need to mess with all of this. If you choose automatic, it will basically create a file that is the same as the footage you brought in. But if you knew that you wanted to go to a different file format, you could do that from here. I'm not going to mess with it. But here's our footage here. It lets us review it before we kind of submit it here. This looks fine to me. I'm going to go ahead and hit export here. Let it cook. It's going to work and kind of save this. So I highly recommend generally that if you have time to export early, that you do, because exporting, as you can see, does take a little bit of time to do. It has to kind of render and put together all of those graphics and all of that music and kind of put it all together. Just having that extra time to review in case you want to make quick changes after the export is done can be really important. But essentially, once it's out, it's a video form. It's a video that you can post wherever you want to post other videos. Pretty awesome. So while that's cooking here, do we have any questions on the sharing process? They really do a great job of making it easy. Awesome. Cool. Well, this is going to finish rendering out. And this is some of my favorite time during renders, because really, like, the edit's done, you're sitting there, you're watching the progress bar go by, you can relax, grab a drink of water. It also kind of tells you in real time how your render is doing, which is awesome. So we're going to go to View and Finder here. This will bring up our final piece of footage, and then we can play through it. It's struggling a little bit, but there is our final footage here ready to go. And we can just take that video and upload it wherever we want. So the cool thing is, like, we have that final piece of footage, right? But if we needed to make a change to it, we still have access to this original document here. As long as we don't delete this or move the footage from where it lives, we can come back and edit this at any point. It's just that final product that we'll have to re-export out again if you had changes to make. But essentially, that's Rush. Hopefully this was helpful. What questions do we have? Okay. Can you fade out music on a loop? Absolutely. I have no idea what I'm opening here. Let me get back to home real quick. So if you wanted to fade music, let's go back here to this guy, just as this project seems to behave a little bit nicer for us today. You'll see right here that I have transitions on the music. That transition will fade it out, and if I loop it,
start practicing.
It fades out, fades back in. So you just go to your effects menu under transitions, and I tend to just apply a dissolve because that's going to fade out the one thing and then bring up the next thing. If the one thing is the end, then it just drops that volume to 0. You can also, if you need that fade to be longer, you can grab the fade here with it selected and then extend it out. So if I wanted that to be a really long fade, it could be. That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. Yeah, thank you so much. This was our first workshop for this audience and opening up to everybody. You all have been great. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. We're excited to do more. I think we have 21 more of these on different topics and things like that. So however you sign up for the first one, you should find all the other ones there. But we will be here in case you have any other questions.